We're going to head over to Cleveland. Again, just for any viewers who are coming on live here to the show, we're having a technical difficulty on our weather table where we're not appropriately identifying the risk category for these games. But the New Orleans Saints at Cleveland Brown game is predicted to get near 30 mile per hour sustained winds. We're talking about gusts well into the 40 mile per hour range. This is an extreme weather event. This is an extreme wind game, right? Let's kind of rewind our mind back to last year when the Buffalo Bills hosted the New England Patriots in the playoff game. It was before the playoff game. It was one of the regular season games towards the end.
Yeah, December.
Yeah, and literally we had a similar forecast, right? We're talking about winds over 30 miles per hour with gusts in the mid 40s, and that game had that Bills Patriots game last year had that same type of setup. Do you remember the rare thing that the Patriots decided to do in that game, Sean, to win this game?
What did they do? Like, you're right, they did. I thought it was a run. It wasn't a run. What was it?
This was the game where Mac Jones only had 4 passing attempts. 4.
Oh, right.
They literally won the game on the tails of other running backs. I think it was Harrison, probably Stevenson at the time. But it was a game where Bill Belichick just said, "Hey, listen, we can't throw in this wind. We can't do it. So we are going to literally give the ball to our running back the entire game and limit our risk for mistakes for the passing attack." And they won the game because of that. That was an overall very low scoring affair. And, we saw Josh Allen still out there slinging the ball. He didn't do great. I think he had sub 200 yards and a touchdown with an interception or something along those lines. But it was a rough game for passing. So this is that same type of caliber game here. We're talking about extreme weather, extreme wind game. And if you look at the starting lineups here, we're talking about Andy Dalton starting the New Orleans Saints, who has not been playing well. He's just a nightmare. He just throws interceptions pretty much every game. And then Deshaun Watson, who's been, he's back in the NFL. He's back and reinstated as a Brown. And he's been rusty, right? To say the very least. So we have two, I would argue, weak offenses going up in an extreme wind game here. Sean, what are your expectations in this one?
Well, Vegas, I could tell you, doesn't expect much with the 32-point over-under. And, yeah, both of these offenses have struggled of late. The Andy Dalton-led Saints have struggled offensively, although their defense has really picked it up. And then Cleveland as well, you're right. Deshaun Watson has just looked rusty. He has. And ironically enough, the last time he played in this kind of weather game was when he was with, obviously, the Texans. They were playing in Cleveland in 2020. And it was similar weather conditions, except in this game, we're expecting 5 to 10, maybe, in the teens, maybe with temperatures.
Yeah.
That game was warmer. So I don't expect much from Deshaun Watson here to kind of summarize. He had 163 yards and maybe a touchdown in that game for the entire game. So I expect kind of much of the same here. I don't expect a lot. He may use his legs a little bit more to kind of bump up that floor a little bit for him. We do see a little bit of a bump in his rushing ability in these types of games. But against the Saints defense, that's actually been doing better. And I think they've only given up like 180 or 190 yards of late through the air to QBs. I'm not excited about playing him, I could tell you that much. And I really hope you're not playing Andy Dalton. And as far as the receiving options, Chris Olave may be out with a hamstring injury. That's already going to hurt Dalton. I'm not happy about that. I have him also in my fantasy league. And so if Olave's out especially, I don't really know who you could play on this Saints team other than Alvin Kamara.
Well, what about Taysom Hill? Is there any sort of chance here that the New Orleans Saints decide that this is the game where Taysom Hill should be running Wildcat rather than throwing out Andy Dalton out there?
I mean, let's just put it this way. I wouldn't blame them, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I don't think it's a bad idea, although the Saints have been really tough against the run. Over the last 3 games, they've only given up 88 yards per game. So I think it's going to be tough sledding regardless. But I'm not counting on Andy Dalton in this. I mean, Andy Dalton we've seen in weather games before, and actually, if you look at his stats, he doesn't seem to be super impacted by cold, wind, or precipitation. But this is like an extreme game. I don't think he's ever played in a potentially 40-mile-an-hour wind game before. So, with Chris Olave, if he is playing, I'm hesitant. Kamara, I think you could still put him out there against a susceptible Cleveland rushing defense who've given up around 130 yards over the last 3 games. But there's not a lot of options here for the Saints. And on the other side of the ball, Deshaun Watson, if you have to play him, you have to play them. But again, kind of like I said with Trevor Lawrence, you got to limit expectations. That ceiling has been dipped. I think it's already been dipped, but now I think it's even further. Dominus People-Jones, I'm not playing him. I mean, he's going to count on the big, deep passes. I don't think you're going to see many of those. Not a lot of opportunities, if any. Amari Cooper, yeah, I guess you could throw him out there. But again, it was like the Christian Kirk kind of scenario. Like maybe there's some dump offs and, maybe he breaks off a run, yard after the catch. But, these guys I'm not excited about playing in this game.
Yeah. I think this is a game where clearly Cleveland's going to be running the ball a lot. So putting out your Nick Chubbs, if you got past last week's not mediocre effort from Nick Chubb, he had like 90 yards. I mean, don't get me wrong, but he didn't get the touchdown. So compared to some of the running backs in playoffs last week, you probably got burned. But if you do have Nick Chubb this week, yeah, he's a target that could get a lot of volume in this game, as I think that they're going to rely on the run here.
They did, and last time they played in this kind of game against the Texans in 2020, at least is the one we looked up, Nick Chubb had 19 carries for 126 yards and a touchdown. So that was more against a more susceptible Texans defense as opposed to, the Saints have been playing better of late. But I think he definitely has some upside here.
Yeah. Speaking about the over-under here, I have a chart up here from Sean Analytics. And we know that Vegas is actually accounting for weather in this game. Their over/under for this game, let me just bring it up here, is 32 points. You can 30. Yeah, it's 32. So you can see that our ensemble mean of our weather-adjusted games for similar conditions is around 32 points. I do want to be clear, in our algorithms, we try to increase our sample size for these types of statistics, so we could actually get some statistics out of here. But this extreme nature of this event, it's not many games, right? So we're actually reducing our win threshold in our analog to get some sample size, and it's probably why we're seeing such a wide distribution of outcomes here in this particular over/under analysis. I would strongly recommend that you do not expect a 50-point game in this one. I really think that we when you see these extreme level wins, you're probably more in the lower tails of the outcome rather than the higher tails. So we're talking about a chance of sub 20 points in this game total from both. When you take the amount of points from both teams and sum them up, we're talking about potential, anywhere from 10 to 20 points with even risk for single points in this one. Which you talk about risk for single points in a football game, it's very rare. But this is the event that could drive that type of outcome.
Let's just put it this way, right? It is a much, 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 much higher probability of this game ending in the teens than really any other game. The last time, again, I keep bringing this up, but the Texans went to Cleveland, there was only 17 points scored, and that was the 2020 game. And Mike brought up the Buffalo Bill-New England game. I don't remember the final score of that game, but I know it was an incredibly low-scoring game. I think not much more than 20, if that. So I think there's definitely a propensity here. Again, the over-under is already 32, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we were in the 20s in this one.
Just keep in mind also, we're talking about strong winds. This game is actually going to have temperatures, in the single digits. So we're talking about like literally minus 10 degree Fahrenheit feels like temperatures. So you're going to have some cold air whipping around. If you're a fan and you're going to these games and you're outside, guys, like, be smart. You're going to have to literally dress up with multiple layers. This is just like, humans don't belong in this type of cold weather and that type of environment to watch football. Bring a lot of adult beverages. Anyway, so yeah, that's the nature of the Saints and Browns win bowl game. This is a repeat type of wind event for compared to that Patriots at Bills game last December. Sean, is there anything else you want to finish up here? Or should we shift gears over to Chicago, your old hometown?
Yeah, true. I'm in Boston now. No, I don't think there's really much to add. I think just limit expectations. Okay. I think the running backs have a chance to, give you an okay floor in this one, but otherwise I'd be looking to pivot.